Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's time to go back to the Master System and talk about some of the most beautiful games on the console. The Master System is regularly forgotten, unless you live in Brazil, because of the NES, and the NES is often seen as a superior console. So today I want to praise some of these games that are just goddamn beautiful. As usual, this is not the ultimate list, but just ones that I think are beautiful. If there are ones I need to talk about, put them in the comments below, and if you agree with my list, let me know as well. As always, if you think I deserve it, please hit that like button, because that is what turns this from a hobby into a full-time career. You can also hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be told when new videos coming out. We've got a weekly podcast, and you can also join our free Discord and come over and join the Smut Squad, and the link is in the description below. Right, let's get into it, shall we? Some beautiful games for the Master System. Power Strike 2. Released exclusively in PAL territories, yeah, and Brazil, of course, this isn't just a good Master System game, it's widely considered the technical pinnacle of the hardware. Developed by Compile, the absolute master of shoot-em-ups, it deserves a masterclass in how an 8-bit machine does things it was never intended to do. Unlike its predecessor, Power Strike 2 is set in a futuristic 1930s. You play as a pilot in a customized fighter plane tasked with taking down sky pirates and massive mechanical fortresses. This is an 8-bit shooter through and through. This means thousands of bullets, incredible speed, and a weapon system that rewards aggressive play. And because it was released so late in the Master System's life and never hit North America, it's one of the most sought after and expensive holy grails for collectors today. Power Strike 2 is a masterpiece of technical defiance. It pushes more sprites and moves at a faster pace than many 16-bit games. The Master System usually struggles with flicker and slowdown when too many objects are on screen. Compile basically perform magic here. The game features dozens of enemies, multiple layers of scrolling, and massive bosses, yet it runs at a blistering speed with almost zero slowdown. Ditching the generic space theme for a stylized pre-World War II industrial look was a stroke of genius. You're flying over lush Mediterranean landscapes, coastal towns, and ironclad airships. The colour palette is vibrant and sophisticated, making it look more like a Sega Mega Drive game than a Master System one. Like all Compile shoot-em-ups, the weapon system is the star. You have your main shot and 6 special weapons, represented by numbered power-ups. Whether it's the wide-reaching spread, the defensive rotating orbs, or the concentrated laser, every weapon feels distinct. Plus, picking up the same number upgrades that weapon, making you a literal flying fortress. Now, by holding down the fire button, you can unleash a powerful charge shot that clears a path through enemy lines. This adds a layer of strategy. Do you keep up the rapid fire, the wall of lead, or do you have time for a heavy blast to take out a high-priority target? The boss fights are also legendary. They take up half the screen and feature multiple turrets, wings, and engines that can be systematically destroyed. Seeing a giant airship slowly fall apart as you pick off its defences is incredibly satisfying and highlight to the game's ambitious scale. Despite its reputation as a hardcore shoot-em-up, the game is surprisingly accessible. It features multiple difficulty levels that actually change enemy patterns, making it a great entry point for beginners while still providing a bullet hell nightmare for veterans on the highest settings. Power Strike 2 is the ultimate mic drop for the Sega Master System. It's the sound of a developer who had completely a masterpiece of hardware and wanted to see how far they could break the rules before the next generation took over. It's a fast, beautiful, and plays like a dream. Zillion. Often overshadowed by its Nintendo rival Metroid, Zillion was actually doing things in 1987 that wouldn't become standard for years. It was a stylish, high-tech infiltration mission that prioritized brain power and observation over just holding right on the D-pad. It was Sega's attempt at a cool anime-inspired sci-fi epic, and for many Master System owners, it was the game that defined the console's early years. As JJ, a member of the White Knights, you must infiltrate the Nanza Fortress on Planet X to steal 5 secret floppy disks and destroy the base before a self-destruct timer hits 0. Your primary tool is a Zillion laser, which was actually modelled after the Master System's physical light phaser gun. It's actually an early Metroidvania. You explore an interconnected maze of rooms, hacking terminals and levelling up your character to bypass security. Zillion stands out because it made the player feel like a high-tech spy rather than just a platforming hero. The game had a password hacking system, and this was the game's killer feature. In every room you can search canisters to find ID cards and computer codes. You have to manually enter 4-digit symbols into terminals to disable infrared sensors, turn off traps or open doors. It turned every room into a mini puzzle and forced you to actually pay attention to the environment. You don't just stay as JJ the whole time. Deep in the fortress you can rescue your teammates, Apple and Champ. Apple is fast and has a high jump, essential for certain platforming sections. Champ is the tank, with more health and firepower but less speed. Swapping between them at the Cylinder Station's revolutionary way to handle character-based progression on an 8-bit machine. Long before RPG elements were common in action games, Zillion featured a leveling system. As you found bread, health, and scope power-ups, your characters physically improved. My god, if I could just eat bread and actually get physically stronger, I would be literally the Hulk. What a joke. Your jump becomes higher, your laser becomes more powerful, and your health bar longer. Seeing JJ transform from a frail rookie into a super soldier was incredibly satisfying, apparently just eating bread. Farce. The graphics were clean, vibrant and futuristic, the character sprites were large and expressive, and the music is some of the catchiest, most heroic synth pop on the system. It had an energy that felt distinctly different from the warm, whimsical NES games of the time. The Nanza Fortress is huge. It wasn't just about moving from left to right, you had to navigate elevators, drop through hatches, and remember which doors you had previously unlocked. It encouraged mapping out the base and make the eventual escape sequence a pulse-pounding test of your memory. In a move that rewarded careful thought, you could find a code that allowed you to blow up individual rooms or even initiate the final base explosion yourself. The game was built around player agency. You're the one in control of the infiltration, and the game respected that. Zillion is an 8-bit classic that feels surprisingly modern. It combines action, exploration, and puzzle solving into a package that oozes 80s sci-fi charm. It's a game about being smart, being fast, and looking cool while doing it, and remains one of the smartest titles in the Master System's library. R-Type. When it comes to arcade ports, the Master System version of R-Type is legendary. In an era where the NES was the undisputed heavyweight champion, Sega's little console delivered a port that was so close to the arcade original it felt like black magic. It's a grueling, tactical and visually grotesque masterpiece that defined what a thinking man shooter should be. Humanity is under attack by the Bido Empire, a terrifying race of biomechanical aliens. You pilot the R9 Arrowhead fighter in the heart of their organic pulsing fortress. The Force is the game's signature mechanic. You have a remote-controlled indestructible orb called the Force. You can dock it onto your ship, the front or the back, to provide extra firepower and a shield, or launch it to float freely and shoot enemies from behind. R-Type is also famous for massive screen-filling bosses, particularly the iconic Stage 1 boss. R-Type in the Master System is widely considered one of the best ports of the 80s because it didn't just copy the arcade, it captured its fear. Unlike many shoot-em-ups that are about twitch reflexes and spraying bullets, R-Type is about memorization and positioning. You have to know exactly when to detach the Force and where to place it to block incoming fire. It felt more like a puzzle shooter, where the solution is a well-placed orb and a charged beam. R-Type introduced the concept of the charge shot to the genre. Holding down the fire button builds up a massive blast that can pierce through lines of enemies. This created a brilliant risk versus reward loop as I talked about earlier. Do you keep firing small shots to keep safe, or do you stop shooting for 3 seconds to charge up a world-ending blast? Sega and the developers at Compile, of course it was Compile, added an exclusive bonus to the Master System version, a secret level. By performing a specific action on Stage 4, you can access an entirely new area not found in the arcade. It was a thank you to Sega fans that made this version unique. The Master System's superior colour palette, well compared to the NES, allowed for grotesque, fleshy greens and purples of the Bido Empire to pop. The game managed to keep the massive sprites and complex background scrolling intact, proving the Master System was the muscle car of 8-bit consoles. The music is also haunting and industrial, perfectly matching the bio-horror theme. As you fly through the giant battleship in Stage 3, a level that is just one big massive enemy, the sense of scale and claustrophobia is unmatched in 8-bit gaming. R-Type though is famously hard, but it's rarely unfair. Every death is a lesson, and because the power-ups are so vital, the game becomes a desperate scramble to regain your force if you happen to die. It rewards the perfect run, making the feigning of finally beating of a stage like a massive victory. R-Type on the Master System is a landmark achievement. It proved that home consoles could handle the big arcade hits without losing their soul. It's a slow, methodical and beautifully ugly game and requires a cool head and a steady thumb. It remains the gold standard for side-scrolling shooters on the system. Phantasy Star. When it launched, Phantasy Star was a shock to the system. While its competitors were following the Dragon Quest template of medieval knights and static menus, Sega delivered a 4 megabit behemoth that felt like it was from another dimension. It combined sci-fi and fantasy, featured a strong female lead, and utilised 3D engine that made every other RPG on the market look archaic. On the planet Palmer, the tyrant Lassic has murdered Neo Landale. His sister Alis sets on a revenge quest that spans 3 different planets. On her journey, she'll recruit a diverse squad: Mayu, a winged cat, fuck that cat, Odin, a muscle-bound warrior, and Noah, a powerful telepathic esper. It's one of the first RPGs to feature battery-backed save slots, allowing you to save your progress anywhere on the world map. Phantasy Star is a masterpiece of atmospheric immersion. It took the hardware limitations of the 80s and shattered them with pure programming genius. The crown jewel of the game is the first-person dungeon exploration. Well, we say that, you need a goddamn map. Play the Sega Ages version. For the love of God, play the Sega Ages version. Unlike the step-by-step movements of other games, Phantasy Star featured smooth-scrolling 3D corridors. Watching the walls glide past you as you turn corners was a jaw-on-the-floor moment in 1987. It was programmed by young Yuji Naka, the future creator of Sonic, and it still feels impressively fluid today. Now, this isn't just swords and sorcery. In this world, you use swords and laser guns. You don't just walk to the next town, you hop in a Land Rover, a hovercraft, or an ice digger. You travel between planets in a spaceship. This is a space opera vibe heavily inspired by Star Wars, and it made the star system feel much bigger and more exciting than a standard fantasy map. In most 8-bit RPGs, enemies were usually static pictures. In Phantasy Star, the monsters actually attack. You'll see them lunge, cast spells, and breathe fire. The sprites are massive, colourful, and detailed, giving the turn-based battles a sense of life and danger that was unprecedented. Now, in the era of damsel in distress, Alice Landale was a revelation. She is the leader, the driver of the plot, and the one holding the sword on the cover. She gave the in-game a unique emotional core, a personal story of grief and revolution, rather than generic chosen one prophecy. The game made you feel like a true explorer as well. Each of the 3 planets had its own distinct culture, soundtrack, and ecosystem. Navigating the treacherous gas clouds of one planet or burrowing through the ice of another made the journey feel like a grand, multi-layered odyssey. Now, the dungeons themselves aren't simple hallways. The late-game dungeons are massive, complex labyrinths filled with traps, pitfalls, and secret doors. It's a kind of game that practically mandates a piece of graph paper and a pencil, turning exploration into a rewarding mental challenge. To be fair, if I was playing this back in the day, I would have got graph paper, and I'm not gonna lie, yes, it would have been fun to do so. Of course it would have been. But I haven't got the time to do that, play the Sega Ages version. Phantasy Star is a definitive 8-bit RPG. It was the killer app that proved the Master System was technically superior to its rivals. It's a dense, beautiful and challenging epic that set the stage for one of Sega's most beloved franchises. If you can handle the high encounter rate, it's a freaking annoying encounter rate, and some of the things explode when they kill you, and the need for mapping, it remains one of the most rewarding adventures in gaming history. Land of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. While the Mega Drive was getting the flashy 16-bit sequels, Sega's 8-bit team was quietly perfecting the platformer. Land of Illusion isn't just a great Mickey game, it's widely considered one of the best platformers ever made for the Master System, and I kind of agree. It took the solid foundation of Castle of Illusion and added depth, exploration, and technical polish that made it feel like a generational leap forward. Mickey falls asleep over a book of fairy tales and wakes up in a village where the happiness crystal has been stolen. To restore peace, he must travel through 14 distinct stages to reach the Phantom Castle. I'd be questioning how the fuck I got there, but no, it's Mickey Mouse. I'll just do what I want. What's going on over here? The gameplay itself is a perfect mix of the butt bounce attack and the ability to pick up and throw objects to solve puzzles and defeat enemies. And unlike the linear levels of previous games, Land of Illusion features a world map that allows you to choose your path and revisit completed stages. Land of Illusion is a masterpiece of progression. It starts off as a simple walk in the park and slowly evolves into a complex gear-based adventure. The game introduced permanent power-ups that changed how Mickey interacted with the world. You'll find a rope to climb walls or a shrinking potion to reach tiny gaps, and this encouraged backtracking. You see a treasure in Stage 2 that was impossible to reach until you find an item in Stage 8. It gave the game a sense of discovery rarely seen in 8-bit platformers. With 14 stages, the game never gets stale. You'll explore the tiny cavern, the toy workshop, a blacksmith castle featuring a battle with a dragon, and even a sand castle that requires careful swimming. Each stage features unique mechanics. Some auto-scroll, some are branching paths, and others focus on verticality, and some just steal bits from Mega Man 2. This is arguably the most beautiful game of the Master System. The colours are vibrant, the sprites are large and expressive, and the backgrounds are filled with detail. From the swaying flowers in the fields to the eerie flickering torches in the ruins, it squeezed every ounce of power out of the Sega hardware. Mickey starts the game with only 2 power stars, which are its health, making the game quite challenging at first. However, there's a hidden star in every single level. Finding them allows you to expand your health bar up to 5 stars. This creates a rewarding scavenger hunt that makes exploration feel mandatory and satisfying. The story does feel like a Disney adventure. You'll meet Daisy Duck as a village girl, Goofy as a cowardly king, and Donald just being Donald. It gives the world a living feeling like you're playing through a lost 1930s Mickey Mouse short. The controls are surprisingly tight and responsive. Mickey has weight to him, and his jumps feel just right, and the butt bounce is amazing. Even the puzzles like using a block to reach a high ledge or triggering a switch with a thrown apple now feel frustrating because the mechanics are so polished, although picking up a barrel's a pain in the arse. Land of Illusion is a pinnacle of Disney on the Master System. It took the Mickey formula and added layers of depth, such as items, health upgrades, and non-linear exploration, and made it feel much larger than its 8-bit siblings. It's a charming, challenging, and technically flawless adventure that proves that Sega's 8-bit console could go toe-to-toe with the best of the 16-bit era. Phantasy Zone 2, The Tears of Oppa Oppa. Now, while most shooters of the era were gritty, grey, and set in deep space, Phantasy Zone 2 is a literal explosion of pastel colours, balloons, and cute-em-up charm. Don't let the candy-coated visuals fool you though. Underneath that bright exterior lies a punishingly difficult and mechanically deep shooter that remains one of the most unique titles in Sega's library. You control Oppa Oppa, a sentient living spaceship with wings and feet. Cool, as he travels through the colourful planet to the Phantasy Zone to stop an invading force. It's a defender-style shooter, meaning you can fly both left to right. Each stage consists of several bases, massive stationary enemies, that must be destroyed to trigger the boss fight. The sequel introduced a complex walk mechanic. Each planet has multiple zones, like background or areas connected by portals. You have to jump between these dimensions to track down and destroy all the bases. Phantasy Zone 2 is a masterpiece of risk and reward. It forces you to manage your economy while dodging a screen full of bubbles and wings that just sounds insane. Unlike other shooters where power-ups float across the screen, Phantasy Zone 2 is all about capitalism. Goddamn right. Defeated enemies drop coins. You collect that cash and fly into a shot balloon to buy upgrades. Seriously, was someone smoking crack playing this game? You can buy faster engines, twin bombs, or devastating 7-way shot. This adds a layer of strategy. Do you buy the cheap speed boots now or save for the expensive laser? There's a catch to the shops though. Your upgraded weapons are timed. Once you buy that massive laser, a timer starts clicking down. This creates a frantic, high-pressure loop where you try and destroy as many of your bases as possible before your super weapon runs out and you're back to your puny pea shooter. The warp portals aren't just for show either. Each stage has a bright side and a dark side, different zones. Bases are hidden across both of them, so this adds a layer of exploration to your shooter genre, so you're not just moving forward, you're clearing out a multi-dimensional map. The Master System's colour palette shines here. The game features some of the most vibrant, saturated graphics of the 8-bit era. Pink clouds, polka dot enemies, and neon green landscapes make it feel like you're playing inside a bowl of cereal. It's a stark, refreshing contrast to the manly military shooters of the time. The bosses are also massive, weird, and memorable. You'll fight giant floating masks, mechanical wood blocks, and spinning geometric shapes. Each boss requires a specific pattern and often specific weapon choices, making them feel like skill checks at the end of every world. When you touch the ground, Oppa Oppa sprouts little legs and walks. Oh my god, that's amazing! It's a tiny detail, but it changes the gameplay, and you can use the ground to steady your aim or to dodge certain projectiles. This hybrid movement makes the character feel live and iconic. Phantasy Zone 2 is a fever dream of a game. It's a bright, loud, and depictively difficult. It takes the shoot 'em up formula and adds an economic system and dimensional warping that makes it feel much more modern than its 1987 release date suggests. It's a definitive cute 'em up, and a must play for anyone who wants to see the Master System colours pushed to the limit. And finally, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Forget the Mega Drive version for a second. Even though they share a name and a release window, the 8-bit Sonic 2 is an entirely different game with its own levels, music, and mechanics. It's infamous for being one of the most punishingly difficult games in the series, but also one of the most creative, introducing vehicles and exploration-based Chaos Emeralds long before the 16-bit games got complicated. The setup here is that Sonic's new pal, Tails, has been kidnapped by Dr. Robotnik. Unlike the Mega Drive version where Tails follows you, here he's the damsel in distress. Sonic must collect the Chaos Emeralds to reach the final hidden world and rescue him. It's a classic 8-bit Sonic, fast, momentum-based, and focused on finding hidden paths. Every zone introduces a unique way to travel, from hang gliders and minecarts to giant air bubbles and warp tubes. Sonic 2 on the Master System is a masterpiece of atmospheric variety. It doesn't just try to be a remake of the 16-bit game, it blazes its own trail. Because the 8-bit game was released slightly before the Mega Drive version in Europe, this is actually the first time many gamers even saw Tails. Even though he's not playable, the stakes feel higher because your goal is to save your best friend, leading to a surprisingly emotional and somewhat dark bad ending if you fail to find all the emeralds. He dies. In this game, Sega experimented heavily with the movement here. There's a hang glider in Sky High Zone, and you have to master wind currents to stay airborne. It's notoriously tricky but offers a sense of flight that was mind-blowing for the Master System. There's also a minecart. An underground zone features high-speed rail segments that require split-second jumps to avoid lava pits. But they're not just background elements, they were core gameplay mechanics that change the feel of each zone. Now, in this version, Chaos Emeralds aren't in special stages, they're hidden inside the levels. This turns the game into a scavenger hunt. You have to poke around behind waterfalls and explore high-altitude platforms to find the 5 emeralds to unlock the final Crystal Egg Zone. So no Supersonic here. Also the fact that at this point there were 6. I know 7 came out soon after, but there were 6 in Sonic 1. Did 1 get lost? Or is it the fact, I think Dr. Robotnik's got one of them. I think that's what it is. So, sorry, I think Robotnik's already got one of them, hence for 5. Don't attack me in the comments. I'm trying to remember my Sonic lore. The Master System version, though, does look incredible. The sprites are larger and more detailed than the first 8-bit Sonic game, and the backgrounds are lush and colourful. The way the water rises and falls in Aqua Lake Zone, or the industrial machinery of Gimmick Mountain, show that Sega's 8-bit team was at the top of their game. The game does have a hardcore reputation. Every boss fight in Act 3 takes place in a room with 0 rings. This means 1 hit and you're dead. You've got to memorise the patterns of Robotnik's master robots, like the bouncing metal pig or the mecha sea lion, with absolute perfection. The music here for Green Hill's Zone, not Green Hill, that's just confusing and lazy, is a classic 8-bit earworm that was so good it was later remixed for the Japanese-European version of Sonic CD. It captures that bright, optimistic Sega Blue Skies energy perfectly. Sonic 2 is a fascinating piece of history. It's a darker, tougher and more experimental take on the Blue Blur. It demands precision and patience, but rewards you with some of the most unique level themes in the franchise's history. It's not just a side project, it's a fully realised adventure that stands tall on its own merits. And that's it, some of those beautiful games on the Master System. As always, do agree with this list, did you play some of these? And if there's ones I need to talk about, put them in the comments below. And I said at the beginning of the video, I'd really appreciate it if you can hit that like button, as that is what really turns this in a little hobby of mine into hopefully one day being my full-time career. I'll see you all in a few days from the video. My name's been Danny, take care of yourself, bye bye.